Hi everyone, and welcome to another Kicking It with Sensei, and the second day of our Female Warriors Week. And today we're joined with Judo Sensei Georgina Bevan, and it's great to have you on the show, Georgina. And if you'd like to,
hi there, nice to be here.
If you'd like to tell our audience a little bit about your background.
Used to compete internationally for Great Britain years ago. Went to the Athens Olympics where I came seventh. I also placed in a couple of World Championships, fifth, and was European champion along with other medals in my senior career, and was a junior world and junior European champion early on when I first sort of started going internationally.
Very impressive. But so what first got you interested in martial arts, and why judo?
It was just potluck, really. My mum's friends' children did it on the estate that I lived on.
Yeah.
We weren't a family with lots of money, so it was quite a cheap sport. There are other sports I was quite good at, but ultimately judo was the cheaper one to do. And there was already a connection off my estate, went to Pinewood Judo Club, so I went there and knew lots of people, you know, when I arrived there. So that made it a little bit easier with the training in the sport, really.
Yeah, judo's very popular now in the UK and Ireland. It's massive now. I've only recently started myself, but it's very interesting. Very interesting now. And what do you think the benefits of martial training are?
And it's one of the reasons my children do it, really, is I think it's really good for self-confidence, discipline, that ability to think on your feet, particularly with judo. I don't know much about the other martial arts, having only ever done judo, but I like that it's reactive and you've still got to keep your cool in the shin, particularly as a woman, being able to defend yourself. I think that's really important. I've got a little girl and a little boy, so I think that's really important. Not that boys get attacked as well, but I just think that confidence to be in the situation, to know whether to run or to stay, I think is something that you get built into you over years of training. You know, it's not about staying and fighting, but it's about being able to handle the stress of the situation. And I think the martial arts prepare you for that, particularly. The level I fought at meant you needed to be able to handle stress quite significantly. So if you can perform in that kind of environment, you know, you handle really stressful situations, and that is obviously worthwhile skill to take to any job once you retire from judo. I don't work in judo. I work in the education industry. So I think that's a really important skill, but people don't necessarily get it if they've not been in sport. But that ability to thrive under pressure, and to perform under pressure, is a skill in it.
Definitely. Now, I think it's excellent for kids now, judo. My three daughters all practice judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and as much as I tell them for self-defense, run, and then I ask them, what do you do in self-defense? They say taiotashi. But if they know it, let it.
Exactly. And I think and I think your reactions take over.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, well, there's lots of elements to the sport that you can transfer to other sports. You know, my sister went on to uni to do rugby. Was pretty good right from day dot, having been a judo player since she was 5. So I think there are, you know, and also judo players are the top 2% fittest athletes in the world. You've got that base fitness, it's aerobic and anaerobic, which you can't say is in all sports. So I think that's a real bonus of doing a sport like that physically.
Yeah, definitely. Now, as a woman, do you feel you got the same opportunities as your male counterparts in the sport?
Yeah, I would say yes. In fact, lots of men in the team who say, we want to fight some of the people you have to fight, George. You know, I think the girls can be a little bit more aggressive at times, certainly at the younger years, you know, looking at like a junior level judo competition now, the difference between some of the girls and the feistiness that's naturally more within the girls. I think there were elements in my time, I don't know if it's changed, like there was less places in the Olympic Games for women from Europe than there was for men. But again, I think it was proportional if you think about how many women actually did judo compared to the amount of men. So I don't feel it was overly biased. It's certainly very different as a coach, being a female coach. I'm one of very few when we go to judo competitions, and I've had some interesting comments, let's just say. One young lad told me mums needed to be over on that side. So I promptly reminded him that I wasn't just a mum, that I was there in a coaching capacity. So, you know, sometimes there are those preconceptions around a woman on the mat side. So I think that's been very different for me. You know, when I did my coaching qualification through the club, it was only myself and one other girl that had been at top level that were coaching. There was maybe 16 of us on it and 4 of us were women. So, you know, I think it's a different ball game actually when you're coaching in it than when you're competing in it.
Oh, definitely. I know with our clubs now, we have 8 dojos in the Donegal area in Ireland, and we have 5 male coaches and 1 female. But I don't know how it ended up being that, because most of our black belts are actually female. So it just turned out that's the only one that wanted to go through the coaching process. But she's doing excellent at
it. And I think as well, you know, somebody to me at the club, oh, it's nice to see a woman on there with them, particularly when they're really young. You know, whether I have got much of a maternal instinct, I don't know, because I'm a bit of a get on with it with them generally. But I think that opportunity to have a male role model and a female role model for them at a very young age is really important.
Yeah.
And that both sexes can do the job just as well. So I think that's a really good element of being a coach with young ones particularly.
Yeah. And what's your favourite thing to practice in judo? Is it the randori or niwaza, or throwing the guys about the mats a bit?
Well, I'm from Pinewood. We were renowned for being good on the ground, and I won quite a few titles with that. But ultimately, that's the only bit I miss, is that fifth act of randori. I don't miss the weight loss, the training, all, you know, the way the body feels after it. If I could just rock up and have a randori and feel absolutely fine the next day to go to work, I'd still do it. But no, and it's the bit I miss the most. But ultimately, it's nothing to. Once you've retired from a certain level, or even any level, you've got to be able to compete in randori at that level, and the numbers aren't always there. And when you're then full-time employed in another job, if you get injured, you can't not go to work. So I think, you know, that's the bit I loved about it, the bit I wouldn't go back to at the moment without doubt, you know, with having to maintain a real life.
Competitive age. But what advice would you give a young girl starting out in martial arts now?
Enjoy it, you know, love it for what it is. Don't look too far ahead. You know, I think sometimes you see in young people that they over worry, get over anxious about potentially what they think might happen. You know, I certainly had a situation with my daughter. She fought a competition, you know, was much more experienced than the other girl she fought, and the competition organizer had known me years. So he said, George, do you think Callie will go up and fight the next grade just to give the girls some fights, because there isn't, you know, the numbers up there, because obviously there is less numbers for girls in competitions. And she wouldn't do it. She was really anxious about the fact that one of them was a yellow belt, really bothered. And I was like, Cal, you fight boys that are yellow belts at the judo cup, you know? No, Mummy, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. So I was like, okay, fine, that's fine. Next day, I should have done that, shouldn't I? And I think it's that, yes, you should have, but actually you've got to realize it for the moment and enjoy it for what it is. I don't think there's any merit in putting extra pressure or expectation on them. I think it's really good sport for you to be confident and happy with your body, you know, with all of the way there is and pressures on to look a certain way. actually when you're physically in contact with boys and girls, you don't tend to worry about stuff like that as much, because you just got to get in on. So I think it's a good sport for that. And actually, you know, it's a really amazing feeling to be a winner, you know, and there's not that you can compete individually in, and get that kind of level of recognition pretty quickly, like you can in judo in Britain.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think there's any female role models out there today for young girls in judo or martial arts in general?
I mean, for me, like I said, I'm from Pinewood, so Megan Fletcher and Ben Fletcher, who fight for Ireland, are my family. You know, we see them. So for my two children, they're their role models, and you know, they're very different sized family to us. I'm Dutch, so you know, they're really big and just real amazing athletes to see. So my two quite like being around them. That's really important. We've had Nicoda Davis-Smith up to the judo club to do sessions with the children. Natalie Powell is also from my judo club that I coach at Urban Judo Club. So she's, you know, somebody that's connected to the club, and Richard will keep everybody informed as to her progress, so the girls particularly know about her. But it's really difficult because once a national athlete, you don't come home so much. You don't come back to where you grew up, and you know, that was a big part of the club I grew up in, on that map, so the kids could see me. That was, you know, no person was bigger than the club. No person's result was better than anybody else's. So I think that we're maybe missing a trick, that we should be trying to facilitate that more, that those international players do get the opportunity to be more involved at a club, and those children to see them on the ground rather than at a distance in magazines such as Coca Kids and things like that, because it's a bit too removed for a child to see that. You know, we don't see them on the telly as much as other sports. So I think that'd be nice to support in clubs helping out, and some may do, but you know, from the guys that the clubs I'm in at the moment, we don't see them enough, is what I would say.
That's it. I think that's the same across a lot of martial arts now. Unless they go towards UFC, no one ever sees them or gets any publicity around them. But, well, I know Ronda Rousey's made a big difference in judo in the last few years, but I think definitely we need more.
The Olympics.
Yeah, I think we need more sort of homegrown.
And I think it's that, you know, that opportunity to share them. You know, Gemma Gibbons. At London, Lee, to see her do that, you know, Sally as well at the last Olympics. So there are female role models in judo, but they're few and few, and that's, you know, because it's an individual sport. You know, if you've got a football team, there's lots of women in it that girls could be aspiring to be. So I think in other sports there's possibly a better PR around those role models and getting that connection with the grassroots programs. I certainly know there is in rugby, because obviously I live in Wales and they have really comprehensive programs there. So I think that's really, really important.
And finally, what makes you think judo is the greatest martial art to practice? Why is it your favourite?
For me, it was the physical contact of it. You know, like I said, I haven't really done any of the others, but I loved it. It was the fact it was more like wrestling. I like the power and the strength that you needed to be able to contend in it. I think, you know, I think you do have to be really tough and really fit to be able to play out, a lot tougher and fitter than other sports. You know, as I've talked about before, you've got to be explosive and have endurance and have that mental capacity to keep going on fight in a competition. So I think there's lots of strengths in that way. I've also made incredible friends. You know, they're friends that I still have now, that I still see. I'm better friends with judo players than I ever was with my school friends, because I spent more important times with them. You know, they were the ones wet gear, they were the ones celebrating with me. I think that's really important, that I saw that side of it. But then I was fortunate to be that level. You know, and because I've not had the experience of the other martial arts, I wouldn't have much to say about them really. But from my end, that's what I always loved about, you know, just that pure physical contact, that how hard we trained, how fit you were, to feel that fit, you know, when you're retired and you're my age now. Yeah, I didn't realise how lucky I was to be that fit. You know, I have to train quite hard now to stay fit. Whereas then we did 2.5-hour sessions, part and parcel. If you can do that kind of training, you're generally a really fit judo player.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite things too about martial arts. It's when you have someone come on that considers themselves super fit, and then they do a 3-minute round of randori and can't breathe, and it's just an eye opener all round. But it's unbelievable how much endurance it takes.
And and that's what kids are missing out on now. That kind of physical contact, that kind of interaction, that we'd got them to, those kids that were really training regularly, they're getting that oxygen in their lungs, they're becoming really fit and healthy young people. And it's really hard to do it with a static, shadow uchikomi video, but it's the best we've got at the moment. And the hope is that we can keep some of the children at the club engaged with that. And if my two are puffing and a bit sweaty, then I think at least we've got their lungs and heart going for that 40 minutes or whatever it is. Because I think that's really important, that the young people haven't had that during this pandemic.
Yeah, perfect. Well, it was a pleasure having you on, Georgina. And I know you have a great YouTube channel going at the minute. I've heard a lot of coaches and instructors with the intentions of doing this throughout the virus, of actually putting videos up for children, but I think you're the only one I've actually seen following through and doing it. But where else can people find yourself or the Judo Club online?
Well, I'm one of the coaches at Avon Judo Club in Southwest Wales, Mid Wales rather. So we have 2 sessions when we're up and running again in Bilth and Brecon. So we're always welcoming new people there. Yeah. I'm on Facebook as Georgina Bevan, though, not Georgina Singleton, which is my competing name. And I do have a Twitter account, but I'm not on Instagram. I haven't quite made it to there yet. A bit too busy to do that one as well. So, but yeah, the intention with the sessions was to just keep them going, and as long as we need to, and anybody can, and they're on demand rather than live. So people can do them their own time rather than having to do them with me at the same time, and that pressure of trying to fit in with it synchronously, really.
That's it. Yeah, I know with my own 2 youngest girls now, way back at the start, I couldn't get them to keep training. And when I was at home, they're going, "No, you're not Sensei, here, you're Daddy." And then I came across your videos, and that's kind of kept them. It's another instructor, not me. So it was great. It was great to have it there. So, well, thanks.
We've had that from some of the other parents. Some of the kids just can't get their head around doing it in the lounge because it's not at the judo club, But actually, if there's anything we can do to just keep them judo as fit as possible, and enjoying that and being a bit active, then I think that's really, really important. So I'll do them as long as we're needing them and we're still in the COVID crisis. Hopefully. I would imagine. I don't think I'll carry them on after that just for fun, but I think we'll be doing as long as we're in the COVID situation.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Georgina. It was a pleasure to have you on. And hopefully we can keep watching the videos.
Thank you for having me. Yep. I will, and I'll keep posting them as long as we're stuck in away from the judo club. So, and if the more people watch them and the more young people get to do it, the better for me. That's what it's all about, really. It's not about anything else than that.
That's it. Perfect. Well, thanks very much, and all the best in the future, Georgina.